Welcome back to Trapani's Choice, episode 16. Your host, Nick Trapani. And I've got a guy on today that's very special to me because he has helped me drive forward in stand-up comedy. I first met Joe White when I was doing a stand-up comedy course in the city, and he was a comedian that came in to watch our set and give us a little bit of feedback. And he gave me nothing but a positive vibe and told me to get out and start performing. So really, I needed that drive at that time from someone to help me do what I'm doing today. So I thought that it would be perfect to get him on as the first real comedian on this podcast. So enjoy the episode, guys. This is Joe White. Thanks, Joe, for your time today. I know it's Father's Day. I know you don't have a kid, but you play a pivotal role in your nephew's life. So I'm sure that you want to spend a bit of time with him today. But thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nick. Actually, I'm expecting a phone call from him, but he hasn't called me yet. My nephew, to wish me a happy Father's Day. Mind you, that I've only been good to him for the last week before I left Melbourne, so I don't know if it counts.
You get half a
you
present
got kids,
then.
You got kids. You understand? Like, I had no idea how to connect with him, and then all of a sudden, before I left, I just started giving into his imaginary world. We're pretending to be dinosaurs or pretending to be King Kong and wrestle him and fight and pretend I can't catch him, and he's like flying. He's stronger than me. So I'd pick him up and I'd like place him on top of me and I'd be like, oh no, I can't move. And he'll go, yeah, I'm strong. And I just kept doing that. And now he won't let me go. Like, he's like attached to me now.
It's like, I find it funny with kids, it's like they're on hallucinogenics all the time, right? So I generally take shrooms when I'm with my son so that we can be on the same wavelength, you know what I mean? And he goes, I'm strong. I'm like, no, I'm strong.
Yeah, that's when they love you more,
You just play
the lucid dreams.
But it's good fun, and it's and one thing that your comedy is about family, and you talk a lot about your mum and whatnot. But what was it when did you first realise that comedy was going to be a part of your life? For me, I knew straight away in primary school, telling jokes to kids around the yard and everything like that. I was the class clown. What was it that was in your life that pushed you into comedy?
It's a good question, Nick. A lot of people go, I thought about doing comedy or when I was at primary school or when I was this young. I genuinely thought about doing comedy, and when I was 29 years old, I'm 34 years old now. And purely because I've always done funny stuff amongst my friends and family. I remember when I was 14 years old and my brother couldn't sleep, and I'd use a little toy and I'd make him have conversations, and he'll just be dying with laughter, and he'll just be like, sometimes he'll have friends sleep over and he'll call me and be like, can you do that toy drama thing that you do? And I'll get two toys and I'll just make him have conversation, and him and his mates will love it, So looking back, I do remember doing funny things along those lines, but I've always been, I guess, doing jobs that were in line with what society deemed to be the norm, which is being getting normal 9-to-5 job, being a subcontractor in career industry, and then going into banking. And when I was in banking, that's when I decided the next job would be stand-up comedy, and purely because stand-up comedy is not an easy thing to just delve into. Something really has to happen for you to be pushed into it, if you speak to a lot of comics, there's a lot of trauma that comes from, there's a lot of trauma that happens in the background that pushes them onto the stage to just let loose and not care and just be free on stage. So to me, that trauma was purely going through a relationship breakup. And I was with this girl for 10 years. And then when she dumped me, I just decided that's it, that I was not going to live my life the way I've lived it for the last 29 years, and that I was going to be adventurous, fearless, and that I was really going to take time out to get to know who I am and what I'm supposed to do with my time on earth. And one of those I just went on a bucket list of ticking things, and I wasn't gonna, like I said, you have to be honest with yourself and you have to be fearless. So I was like, stand up comedy. Why
Was part
not?
of
And
it
I
that
gave
you
it a
wanted
go.
to, you wanted her to look back and see you on stage and go, I could have been with that. Was that, did
you,
that?
you know what? Like, I think, I mean, it's nice, because when the relationship ends, obviously, um, you don't go, oh yeah, nah, it doesn't matter. They can go do their own thing. I'll go do my own thing. Especially if it's been 10 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I went into comedy, and I guess I just wanted to be heard. I was going through a lot of hurt, and there was no one around me that could really understand me. So I wanted to be heard. I wanted to feel appreciated again. I wanted to feel like I mattered again. And when you're on stage and you deliver a good joke that you worked so hard to write, what happens? The crowd laughs, the crowd
Oh,
applauds.
yeah.
So they're giving you all that, your work matters to us, you matter to us, you're funny, we appreciate you. And afterwards they come and they say thank you, and so all
There's no
that
better
is like
feeling
the
than
best
that.
therapy.
Yeah,
Best
definitely.
therapy, right?
Yeah. Just going back to when you were working sort of 9 to 5 jobs and things like that, I had a lot of jobs. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left high school. Loved cooking. I tried to look at what I liked in life. I loved cooking. I thought about owning a
You love
restaurant.
cooking?
I love cooking. Yeah. To this
You
day,
look like
I
someone
cook
who
for
loves
people. My wife doesn't cook. I do all
That's
the
pretty
cooking.
cool. Wow.
When I
I
say she
didn't know
doesn't
that.
cook, she cooks horribly. So I do the cooking.
What's
And
your signature dish? 2-minute
oh,
noodles.
look, Italian is my background. So that comes
Hey,
very easy to me, like lasagna, all the different pastas. I
wow.
like slow cooking meat, using the
Okay,
Weber, smoking ribs, all that sort of stuff. But
that's pretty
also
good.
very big in Asian cuisine as well. I love Asian cuisine. So,
Someone get this man a second wife.
yeah.
That's pretty good.
I was showing my neighbour
Wow,
some
Nick.
of my dishes yesterday, and he couldn't believe it. But back to my question, with work for me, I did labouring jobs. I worked in corporate. I was actually a garbo for a short amount of time, running on the back of a truck. I just tried to
Nice.
do everything, but one thing that was always in my head was a 9 to 5 job isn't me. I just wasn't cut out for it. I don't know how you felt like when you were working, like you were saying that you were doing these jobs that society sort of expects of you, stepping out of the box to do comedy. Did you feel when you were doing the 9 to 5s that it wasn't for you, or you just made that decision later on?
I definitely, because it was, remember, the more responsibilities you have, the harder it is for you to go, nah, I'm not doing this 9 to 5 anymore.
Correct.
I'm going to go take a risk of being an entrepreneur. Because when you go and take that risk to be an entrepreneur, it's like there's no financial safety, It's not guaranteed. There's no regular paychecks coming in. So
That's right, yeah.
you're going in hard. And you could start for a little bit there, but if you're willing to make it work, you could. But a lot of people don't take that risk, obviously, because there's a lot of fear in the background, and that fear comes with mortgages, if you've got kids that rely on you, if you've got, just responsibilities in general. And for me, I guess I worked so hard to get into banking and build my way up. And within 3 years, I was a business home lending manager. So I was like a tier 3 in the head office, which meant if I was in function store, I would be a store manager. So I worked hard to get there. And if I was to pull the pin on it, that's it. All that goes down the drain if you think about it, right? So, and my mum loved me being in that job because we suited up every day.
That's the right job. Yeah.
Banker.
This
So
is everything I wanted for my son to be.
Brought him from Africa as refugee to here, and now he's in the financial game. So imagine telling her like, I'm gonna leave now and go try telling jokes. So
and I have heard you talk about
2 years. Yeah.
Sorry. I was just going to say I have heard you talk about the struggles in going from Africa, and with your mum and your family coming here. It would have been a massive sit down discussion with your mum saying that I'm leaving this job that she loves you in to doing comedy.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I was 3 years in there, and then 2 years into comedy is when I pulled the pin on the job. And the boss was like, "Why don't you just take a year off and then come back, to the job?" But I really wanted to go further into comedy and not have a safety bridge. So when shit gets hard, I don't want to be like, "Oh, there's a safety bridge, I'll go back," which is what we naturally do, right?
That's what
so
happens.
So I just got rid of the safety net and booked a one-way ticket to Canada to tour Canada. And
wow.
I had to obviously have the conversation with a lot of people in my life, and my mom was one of them. But I think with me, I've always just made, like, I was always, my family always looked at me as the responsible one. So when I made a decision, sometimes if they thought it was a very unorthodox decision, they always trusted that there's a reason why I'm making that decision and it's in the best interest of me. So my mom was actually very supportive, and she's like, as long as you're happy. Because remember, I was going through the 10-year breakup that I had, and I was engaged to be married. So when that ended, people around me that cared for me were very sensitive around me, and they were more prone to listening to whatever I wanted to do to actually heal. So they're very supportive in that manner. And I didn't want to be in the bank anyways, because here's the thing, a lot of people don't know. When I was going through my breakup, right, and trying to deal with it, every day I went to work and I worked, like I sat across the desk from my ex. So,
oh wow! So you worked together. Did you meet her on the job or yeah?
No, we met outside banking. We met like probably because I was in banking for 3 years, and that's when the 3 years we ended. But we were together for 10, so we met 7 years prior, obviously. But I wasn't healing, you know what I mean? And so this job, and the job wasn't easy. There was a lot of cases where, because finances is 80% of people's life, right? So it's a very serious, it's very, people are always frustrated, people are always concerned, and you really have to be there and you have to be present. And it was very hard for me to be present and deal with people's finances when I'm going through my own trauma. And my trauma not only is, I'm suffering at home, but when I come to work, I'm seeing the person and I'm suffering at work as well. So it made more sense for me when I went to do comedy, that I was in a different world of happiness. And so I went further that way,
And getting away from that, definitely at work where it's, you're just feeling negative within yourself as well. Even though that, you're doing a job that you felt good in the beginning, it's just like that one thing that's there that's bringing you down. And comedy is completely, so even that to me is a massive thing, because I know how hard it was for me stepping into the comedy world and whatnot. And I've got a successful massage business that I'm still running. I've got fantastic staff, so that allows me the opportunity for me to step away from my hours treating. But I couldn't imagine what that's like to completely leave a job, like you're saying, that safety net to pursuing comedy. Like, that,
well,
what was that little? Sorry, no, that's all right.
We have to be willing to evolve. We have to be willing to follow our heart. We have to be willing to try something new, especially if we tried it a little bit and there was happiness that came from it. If we felt a certain way doing something that was not hurting anyone else, but it was in the betterment of humankind, then we have to delve or throw ourselves into it a little bit each more, and then eventually, for it to work, you have to make that leap. And for me, that leap was really just acting the job and just going. And one thing about human species is when we have no choice and we have to sink or swim, we will swim. So that was my sink or swim moment, is when I went to axed the banking job, and went to Canada to tour. I had to make things happen. Now that I'm back, there's no excuse. I have to make things happen.
You have to keep going.
My decision. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very much for me as well. I went and did a set, my very first set, and it went horribly. And I went away from. I took some friends of mine, and you know what friends are like. They're going to stick up for you. So the MC, when I finished, her comment was, "Well, now you can say you've done stand up." That was it. Yeah. And I thought, for a lot of people, that would have crushed you. Someone saying something so harsh, and you are putting yourself out. You're being vulnerable when you're on stage. And a lot of people don't realize, even just doing this sort of stuff, podcasting, you're putting everything out there. It might be your family. It might be putting something that's personal to you out there for a little bit of entertainment for people. So what I did next was I went and I studied a course, because I thought, why, like with everything else that I've done in life, there's been a little course or something. If I can get a couple of little tips out of this course, then, it will help me with this career that I want to go down. And that's actually where I met you. A lot of people don't realize that I met you there. So on the last day of the course, I had to perform in front of you my 5-minute set. So the whole class had to. And I owe a lot of it to you, because
thanks, man.
with your feedback that you did give me on that day really inspired me. So basically, after my set, you would run through the things that we could work on, and also what was good about the set. And when I did my set afterwards, you said that it would be very hard for you to find the negative or something to work on, that I just needed to get out and practice and practice. Like I was at the stage, not saying that I was perfect or anything like that, but more so,
good, yeah.
the you need to get out and start performing more so was what I took from it. And it really gave, because I looked up to you and, sort of admired you, and then getting those words of encouragement really pushed me into what I'm doing now. So I needed that, especially because my first set went so horribly, to then performing in front of you and you, enjoying what I was doing. So did anyone do that? Was there anyone for you that, or people in your life in that moment where you were leaving that job, help you with that push?
My best friend, yeah. Look, I'm very fortunate that I have that through my tough moments. I have one best friend. His name is Upul, and he's Sri Lankan. And and that's where my love for Sri Lankans comes from. He's very, I guess, just held my hand through the whole process of dealing with my traumas when it came to the breakup, and then finding my feet as a stand-up comedian. And he's not a comedian. He's just he works. So he's what do we say when we're comics? Oh, he's not a comedian. He's normal, right? He's just normal person. Right? Isn't that what we say? Like, comics are not normal.
Because we're not. We know we're not normal, right? We 100% know it. Yeah.
You just have to go to an open mic to see it, But that's where my mind was going. I was going to say, he's not a comedian. He's a normal person.
He's a normal person. Yeah.
But he sometimes we just need someone to just talk to us or listen to us. And I remember when I was going through my breakup, and he would be like, I'd message him. I'd be like, can you come pick me up? I'm not having good thoughts. And he'll come and he'll pick me up, and he'll take me to his place, and we'll just sit there, and we'll talk, and we'll watch Netflix, or we'll smoke shisha, or he would we'll just go to like one of his mate's houses, and we'll try to meditate or something, just to calm my mind down. And after that storm is when I started obviously doing comedy and finding comedy, and then I'll practice my set with him every night, and he would listen. And then when I did it, like he didn't help me with comedy, but he helped me with me as a person, And I think, I'm a big believer that a lot of our comedy comes from where everything that you do in your life comes from you. It's from within, like it comes from the inside out. Right. And a lot of all of our jokes and our creativity comes from inside out. So a lot of comics think that they're just going to create something funny, but they don't go, you know what, it's coming from inside out. So I'm going to work on me, and I'm going to make sure I'm in the right mindset. I'm going to make sure, I spend a lot of time to know me and why I want what I want and what makes me happy, and then go from there. Right. So with me, it's like he is that person that just keeps me in line. When I need word of wisdom, I give him a call, and we bounce ideas. But a lot of people around me were very supportive. My family, my brother, my sister, my mom, and like a handful of friends that was just there from day one. And now they just can't believe, that not only have I recovered from my breakup trauma, but I'm actually making a difference in doing what I love doing.
And doing what you love, yeah. And that's... Yeah. People don't realize, I think, with what I talk about with being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, sometimes we really need that support. They see us on stage and think that we might be strong and whatnot, because we're putting ourselves out there. And maybe that's not the path that a lot of people will go. A lot of people say they'd rather die than be on stage talking in front of people. But us, and that's why we're not normal, is because we keep putting ourselves out there, and especially at open mics, and getting shut down completely. And so we do need that support, so that you had that, like your best friend. And, you know, a lot of the times I'm calling people very close to me just to get that support that you need, because it's a difficult game, isn't it? Really, the comedy game it's hard if you don't have that support. And I know that very early on, my father said to me, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket here with this comedy thing, because you've got a very good business already, blah, blah, blah. And this is while I was doing that course, in the middle of the course.
Yeah.
And I said to my dad, I mentioned this on the podcast before, I said to him, it's all or nothing. If I go in with that attitude, like you're saying, with that safety net to fall back on, it's very easy to quit. Whereas I said, if I think that way, I'm not going to get it. There is no other option than to succeed here. And after he saw my first set, I sent it to him, and he goes, "Okay, son, I think you've got something here." And he sent it to all his mates. So that was a big thing for me, because you know, with me and my father, I've had a very sort of tough relationship at times. It's been very testing, and we're too much alike, so we butt heads a lot. And to get that feedback from my dad was also another little pivotal moment, saying, all right, someone who I respect a lot in what they have done in their work life sees that what I'm doing is actually important.
Yeah, and, you know, just remember as well, like when someone tells you, like when your dad or someone in your life or your friend tells you, hey, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket, and actually you've got a successful business and all, they're not trying to derail you from your purpose. They're just worried for you because they care about you.
It's a loving place.
And so it comes from a loving place. However, it is their fear being projected on you. So as long as you're aware of what's happening, you can handle it. You can handle it better, and you can handle it in a way where, I guess, not manage their fear, but manage the way you respond to their fear, you know, and not let it consume you. So as long as you understand it comes from a loving place, you still go out there and do your thing, but in the back of your mind, you know, you've got a business that's supporting you and the family. And eventually you can delve into comedy and podcasting to the point where you're all in, because it's now making money, or it's making some sort of money that you can potentially double or quadruple if you go in fully. You know, you assess the risk, you manage it, and you're courageous enough to move forward.
Definitely, yeah. And at the moment, well, before the lockdowns and once it reopens again, you know, I'm basically allowing myself at least 2 nights a week to be out performing. When it, as you said, when it gets to that stage, then for me, where it does start making more money financially and you can start living off that, well, that's when I'll take it to that next step of pushing 100%. It further. And if I need to, lucky enough with my job, I have the flexibility where I can, you know, I can arrange my hours as need be. So it's, I'm very fortunate with that. So, you know, but I do see, like, one thing that really inspires me about yourself is watching your drive, because you're out basically 5 nights a week on Instagram Live with a fantastic little show that you've had up and running in COVID, finding love in COVID. And it's such a great little idea, because it's very easy for people to get negative in these times. And at the moment, as we're talking right now, I think Dan Andrews is discussing the next steps for the lockdown situation in Victoria. So that's why I'm on here talking to you, relaxing rather than punching my TV. But what you have done is you've been able to create this happiness. And I see people come on the Instagram Live and the comments, the people following it. And so for people who don't know, you've set up a show on Instagram Live and basically getting people to meet each other and hopefully finding love. There's been a few dates that have happened.
Yeah, the show is called Match Made in COVID, and I simply just started it because We were all when I was in Melbourne, I'm in Perth now, I've escaped. I've dug a tunnel and made my way back to Perth. But when I was in Melbourne, I was obviously in lockdown. And I just wanted, because there's no live shows anymore, so I wanted a way to connect with the audience. I wanted a way to entertain and keep people engaged. So there was a whole Black Lives Matter protest happening. And so I came on Instagram Live and I actually wanted to know what's going on and have guests on to discuss the whole Black Lives Matter situation. In the process of discussing that, people in the comment section it was one gentleman, he was engaging my guest, right? And I know my guest, and I know the gentleman in the comment, and they were going back and forward with comments as well as her responding. And it was really it was a bit bitter, right? The conversation between two of them. And then off air, I was like, wow, they're both similar people. They'd make a great couple. I go, you guys would make a great couple, views. By the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were bickering like married husband and wife, So I'm like, hey, you guys would make a good couple. And then from that, they came in the comment section. And I was like, oh, yeah, next day when I went live again doing the whole Black Lives Matter thing, this time both of them were in the comment section. And I was like, by the way, guys, such and such is in the comment section. I reckon they'd make great husband and wife. And then they started talking and being nicer to each other and actually started saying, oh, yeah, okay, he's now my husband, she's now my wife, as a joke. And then I went, wow, this whole thing has turned into people getting matched. You know what? Why don't we just start matching people? And then I gave it a name called a matchmaking covert. And we started actually properly approaching bachelorettes and bachelors and then connecting them and then having them on one by one to get to know them, asking questions, what they're looking for in a relationship, long-term, short-term. And then they go away and they have a video call date in their own privacy. And then
you don't film that?
To them. No, we don't film it because we're trying to give them privacy, right?
Yeah.
So I genuinely want people to meet. And I mean, yeah, it will be great if we can film their conversation and,
it would be amazing. The awkwardness of the date.
It will be awkward. But people won't be their full self,
But that's what comedians like. This is why we like, this is why we're not normal is we like to mimic people and we're looking at all the mannerisms, all the different things. So that's our entertainment. That would be the part of it that we would find really funny.
Yeah, so I tried to but they said no.
I was actually there, so I sort of saw this show evolve from what you were talking about. I was jumping a lot onto your Instagram lives at the time, especially around the Black Lives Matter. We had the protests around the world, and there was a lot of people coming on your Instagram live talking about history and stuff like that, which I was taking a lot of it on board because, especially in Australia here, with African history and things like that in school. Well, I didn't really study at school, so if they did teach it, I wasn't there. But I was taking a lot of it on board, and I did see these two bickering in the comments, and it was funny to see, two people from similar backgrounds have completely different views on the matter as well, because I found myself there, supporting you guys and whatnot, and then you've got another guy who's throwing in these facts, and he's haymakers. Haymakers, and they were very there was factual stuff behind it, but it was from a very almost go as far as saying like, I know my brother suffers with Asperger's, right? So when you say something to him, if you can't say, oh, have a few of this, he has to know, have two of this. Everything. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas that's what I found. Like this guy was like, you got numbers, but also you're not looking at the personal feelings from people and whatnot. Yeah.
I found him interesting to the point where I wanted him to come on so I can get to know his point of view more. And that's what I loved. I love delving into different point of views. And that was when the show was a whole different, it wasn't matchmaking covert, it was like Black Lives Matter stuff. And that's how those two, that's how when we matched them and then the show, I just went, you know what? Because I sensed the energy was in the room, and that's what I wanted I wanted to cause a positive energy. I wanted to cause an energy where we're laughing, we're giggling, we're talking about our current situation with lockdown and how, we're going to get out of it soon. But in the process, let's meet, let's talk, let's connect. And that's what the show Matchmaking COVID was doing. And I went, you know what? I enjoyed this feeling more so than the feeling of going through discussions about what's happening out there with the protests and the racial injustice being done. And so as hard as it was for me, I decided to do matchmaking covert because I believe my sole purpose is to be an impactful person while I'm here, and I want to do it in a positive way. And that, you know, we can't do it all. We can't be, you know, discussing serious topics and then doing joking.
Yeah.
And it's a comedy page, so I wanted to make people happy. I wanted to make people laugh. I wanted people to come onto the page, feel good, and leave and come back again to get their daily doses, right? And so matchmaking covert does exactly that. And through the show, people have met, have become friends. People have met and become partners. And we've had a date that just happened, and they seem pretty happy, and they want to continue the date with them. Well, again, second date. So people are genuinely coming on thinking, oh, this is a comedy show. It's just a joke. Ha, ha, ha. Next thing you know, they're like, wow, I just met someone.
They're married.
And I'm going to go on a date. They're married. Wow, I've got a mortgage with this person.
But it is a real community you've got on there. And as I said, I've come on to your Instagram live. I tried to get you to set me up because there's some lovely ladies that you have on the show, but you wouldn't accept married men.
I tried to set you up, but then your wife was in the comments.
My wife she got in the comments. But
she was like,
one thing,
she was like, this mess is taken.
Yeah. I reckon she'd give me away because we are hard work comedians. We're not the easiest bunch. We are very much in our heads and focused on what we're doing and very headstrong. So I could see why she'd give me up easy. But one thing, I'm not sure how much of a community you actually that you create with it, because I've actually had conversations with people from the group. So what tends to happen is we chat in the live stream. But then there's been people on there that, you know, might have started up podcasts, and I've reached out to them and say, hey, listen, like, I know it's hard in these lockdowns, showed photos of my setup and whatnot, and try and encourage. So it's a real positive feel that your program gives people and a community, you know, like I come on and people straight away, hi, Nick, you know, it's a good feel show, you know. And even though, like you're saying, it started off from a serious discussion to being a positive. So it's not just it is comedy, but it's also a very positive, very a lot of people need that in these times. So I appreciate what you've done in this time, and I'm sure the rest of your followers really appreciate it. And what can the people who have stuck, you know, in these times and done this, what can they expect in the near future for you? I know that you got a charity show in Perth. And that's amazing that you're doing something like that.
Yeah, so just to wrap up on the matchmaking covert
sorry,
so that's all right. So that show there, the reason, like I specifically set it up so that if I have guests on, or if people come on to be part of the fun, part of the banter, part of the experience, you know, don't come on the comment section and be negative and start making fun of people or start being, you know, homophobic or misogynistic or racist or troll, you know, or that be sexually abusing people in the comment section and all. Like, we don't want, that's not the environment, you know, that's not the platform. That's not why I've set up the platform. That's not why I spend my time and day and energy to entertain people on my Instagram live. It's purely there for the purpose of entertainment, learning, make people feel good. It's where you come to get your daily dose of happiness, considering all the shit that's happening right now. That's what it is. Sometimes people would come on there and they'd be like, oh, freedom of speech. And I'll go, not on this platform. Go create your own platform and practice freedom of speech. On this platform, I'm like, this is what we're doing.
Love,
this is
baby.
the vibe, you know? It's all good vibe. If you can't provide good vibe, piss off, you know? And I've blocked people. You know, when I see a comment come up and it's like, I'd give them a warning and I'd say, okay, well, I'm going to block you now. And then I go, don't worry, guys, it's to consider this person blocked, you know? So people in the comment section don't even have to say anything because I'm on it while I'm interviewing whoever and we're having banter. I'm on it. I'm blocking people who are trolls, you know? We don't have time for that. So
and we get that a lot.
That's why people enjoy coming back. And that's why people actually connect outside the show, because like I was in this chat with this awesome person. I want to message them in private and they have a great conversation. All because of the live show, people have become friends and they've done business together. You know, you were in the live chat. You know the place.
And that's that's good. And I think that's as I was, like what I was saying was that it's just become a great community for people. So we really I really appreciate what you've done in this time for everyone. And,
thank you, brother.
Putting your stuff aside and what you might be going through in this lockdown, like you were saying before, your lockdown in Melbourne before you went back to Perth, and whatever you're going through, you put that aside to still make people happy. So that's our role, right?
That's comedians in general.
We don't stop. I think that's funny because a lot of the times I often sit there and you'll be thinking about like the stuff that's going on, and our first thought is, how can we help? What can we do? I find that a lot of comedians are like that, and that's why we get in. We want to make people laugh. That's the most important thing. But how can we help people on another level? Like, what can we do? Yeah. Can I give up my time for free to help people, to give back? Because our job as a comedian is very rewarding. So
it's also very brutal. So
that's very.
We put it all on the line because it means something to us. It's a purpose-driven job. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not just a 9-to-5 one. And that's what I want to do. I don't like. Yes, I do have my own problems. Yes, I do have my own demons. I'm not perfect. I'm not here to say that I am perfect. I've never done a podcast or interview and said that I was perfect. So I do have my own demons. And I guess I know why I do comedy, Nick. I know why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for the money, the fame. I'm doing it purely for the purpose of impacting in a positive way, right? So if I do a joke and the people are not laughing and I've upset people, then I will revisit that joke and see where I went wrong with it, and I'll try to fix it and deliver it in a way where the outcome is in line with why I do what I do. And if I stop making people laugh, or if I stop making people happy, or if my work stops impacting people in a positive way, I'm not interested in doing that work anymore, and I'm going to go into another field where it's impacting people in a positive way. Pure and simple.
Yeah. See, I find, because our style of comedy is quite different, as our style of jokes are quite different in a sort of way. I love your style, and you do a lot of amazing crowd work, which once again relates to what you're doing with your Instagram Live and stuff. It's about getting the whole audience as, involved in the show. The show is for them, and you're one of the best I've seen at crowd work and communicating with people. And, but I sort of, with my style, I love pushing boundaries. So my jokes are very sort of blue, like it's very, that's what I love. That's my style. And I listen to a lot of podcasts, comedians talking about it. And there was one comedian in particular, and quite a famous comedian. He said that if some of the people are leaving his show, he's happy because then he knows that he's like at the line. Do you know what I mean? Like pushing the boundaries of what you can and can't talk about. And I found that a very interesting way of looking at it.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's a good thing because he's pushing the envelope. He's making people think. A lot of comedians obviously are not all in it for the same reason, for the same why. Like my why is different to yours, and vice versa. So as long as you spend enough time with yourself to know yourself, and you know why you're doing what you're doing, and that's not just with comedy, but that's just with everyday things in your life. Then you should be confident in your approach, So when I do something, I know why I'm doing it. And when I do it and the outcome is not in line with it, I'm happy to say sorry and tweak it and deliver it in a way where the outcome is in line with what I want, right? And so comedy is not the only way I can do what I want to do, which is impact humanity in a positive way, right? Through my work. And so I delve into many other aspects. One of those is where I use comedy to fundraise for charities and foundations, right, that are close to my heart. So I'm in Perth now. I've got a show on the 20th, and all the funds from that show is being donated to Diaspora Down Under, which is a youth group set up in an African youth group set up in Perth, WA. And for the last couple of years, they've been using funds from their own pocket to put events for young African youth in Perth. And the space they've set up is for them to discuss many things. And one of them is along the line of mental health, right? And how mental health in the African community is very misunderstood and very taboo. So if this is a youth group, African youth group organized, for the youth by the youth, right? And so I said, yeah, why not? I'll do a show, and as an African act myself, I will donate the funds to you guys. But that being said, I'm not just purely donating to foundations or organizations that are just African.
No.
Yeah, got the Katina Woodruff Children's Foundation that we've donated throughout our show. We got the Canadian Cancer Society that I donated through the show when I was touring Canada. We've got many different organizations that we're donating to, but it doesn't just start with comedy. The being able to impact in a positive way. It's not just comedy, but it's who you are. Like who I am. So I would go and donate blood, for example. That's got nothing to do with comedy. That's just purely because I can make a difference.
But it is very rewarding when you do have a charity as well that aligns with your belief as well, with what you're saying. So, like it is good when someone comes to you and goes, "Can you help me with this?" And more than happy. I've been able to do it with my massage clinic as well, offering vouchers for charities and whatnot.
Good.
But when you find one that is close to your heart, there is a special feel with that. So I'm sure that show that you're going to put on as well, while you're doing the show, there's going to be a really good feeling about it as well. So,
100%.
I'm sure everyone's going to appreciate that.
100%. And if there's any complaints from the audience, I'll be like, excuse me, you're paying half price and I'm not getting any of this money. Relax.
I'm not even getting paid for this shit.
Relax and enjoy the freebie. I'm not even getting paid for this shit.
Yeah, just tell them this is a warm-up show for the real thing if you want to come later.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's a trial show for my Fringe run. So
explain a little bit about the Fringe. I know that not everything's set in stone, but what's...
so in 2021, I'm going to be in the Perth Fringe Festival, and I'll have a show in there called Ethiopian and Still Not Hungry, Corona Time. That's what it's called.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm trialing the material and just getting it ready for that run. So that's between January and February. So that's where, if you're in Perth, that's how you can catch the show. And if you're not in Perth, then you'd have to catch me online on Instagram Live. Sunday to Thursday, Instagram Live.
Hopefully, if the lockdowns are lifted here, the borders are open and things like that. I was supposed to be going to Perth actually in December to visit my uncle lives in Perth. So there's every chance if bought. Look, I'm not too sure. He's travelled all around Australia with work and whatnot. He's been in Perth the last few years. So I've never been to Perth. I know nothing about it. And but I only hear wonderful things, the weather, the beaches. Can't say much for the people, but look, I do want to come there. And I do want to come there and hopefully it's, like if I can align it with the times of your shows and what's not, I'll definitely be booking a ticket and coming and seeing you because honestly, I get a lot when I watch you because as I said, you're sort of like the yin to my yang. Like I take a lot of what you do because can we a virtual hug? It's
a bit of tongue action.
Yeah. This is match made in Trapani's choice.
Grinder made or in Zoom.
Grinder. Oh, jeez. But so like when I watch because one thing comedians do is when we're watching other comedians, we do take little bits about what you do. So you inspire me as well to do a lot more crowd work and the way that you communicate because I do find that I'm a good communicator, but when I'm on stage, sometimes you get focused on your jokes. And, then to be able to bring that into crowd work and the style of your jokes being, you love to be able to involve everyone, meaning that you like more G-rated jokes so that you can basically, like you said, your job is to change society in a positive way, which you can see that you're doing that on stage. And so that helps me a lot of the times when I think, does this need to be that offensive in what I'm doing and pull it back a little bit. So I really get a lot when I come see you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And look, I'm not saying that there's comics out there who swear that won't go far or make a difference. But I'm just saying do what's in line with why you're doing what you're doing. Obviously, funny is funny. Like things can be funny without any swear words, and things can be funny with swear words. Funny is funny. So as long as you're doing the funny and it's in line with why you're doing what you're doing and you're feeling like you're feeling good about it, right? Then do it. But if you're feeling like crap and you're just doing it because it's funny, then I would say rethink why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I like to touch on topics that maybe other people won't, because I also want a message passed out in it as well. I find with my jokes that even though they might be a little bit offensive, if someone can think a little bit, like, oh, I didn't think of that, like that is so true that that's the case, or or whatnot. So like I like a hidden message. I just don't like being, you look at a lot of comedians that are out there that are just plain offensive, and there is a place for that. People like that, but it's a niche market. I get, like I know what you're saying. And,
but then
when
you have
I
comics who, sorry, go on.
No, you're right. You go, yeah.
You have comics who are new to the game, and then they will just get out there and be vulgar and just be racist, homophobic, misogynistic, right? And then go, oh, well, I'm funny. You guys are just soft crowd. But it's like, not really.
I know.
You're not,
yeah.
And you would see this at open mic. So
100%.
Understanding.
And I think I take it a little bit. I know exactly what you're saying. And when you see people, it's almost like, and for people that don't know, usually an open mic night is 5 minutes that you have on stage to practice your jokes and your routine and whatnot. And you see a lot of people when they're getting up for the first few times and they basically want to be really, offensive, and they don't realize that they're not being funny, so to speak. And I saw a guy recently on it was actually a Zoom open mic night, and he basically, there was pedophile jokes, there was rape jokes, and it was like, it was very full on, and I guess it takes a long time of being out there and putting yourself out there to realize, and I guess it's the same with everything, like especially with cooking, I've learned less is more, and it takes a while to get that. So now when I see someone doing that, I sort of go, okay, I see what they're doing. They're trying to pass a message on here about topics that are controversial, but they don't know the formula yet of just pulling it back a bit. It doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah, 100%. It's and if you're a comic out there and you're, saying vulgar shit and not even just that, but you're just saying really mean and hurtful things on stage and you're not getting laughs and you're wondering why people are not laughing, it doesn't mean you're a terrible comic. It just means
you're a terrible person.
You're hurting. No, not even that. It just means that you're hurting and you're coming on stage thinking, nah, people would love this. I'm going to express, and you're venting, right? So maybe spend a lot of time just off stage getting to know you. Off stage, I don't know, go meditate, go smell some roses, do something nice and be kind to yourself, because at the end of the day, when we get up on stage and whatever we say comes from us, right?
We're projecting what we're feeling.
Yeah. It's like what you think, what you feel, you project. So if you're projecting things, you're not getting positive response. And that's in anything that you do in your life. It's like, maybe it's you're attracting what you are. So work on changing that before you get on
definitely.
stage.
And you can see that in people. It's interesting to see. You could, we look at people of how they are and what they're doing on stage, and you can almost tell what that person's like. And that's why, I like my style. I do feel like it's a good representation of who I am. And I know that I spoke to you before I did the Raw Comedy Festival, and we had a good chat about it. And you said to me that, of what they kind of want, what those judges are looking for, and that, for something that's going to be televised, that maybe my stuff mightn't align with it. Not that it's not good, but it just mightn't align for that event. And, like the whole drive to that event, I was thinking, do I change it? Like I can change some of those punchlines to be a little less offensive or on that topic and whatnot. And I really took on board what you said. And right before I got up on stage, I thought, you know what, I'm going to stick to my guns, because there's going to be people here who are going to see me, that are going to see me in the future. And I want them to know what they're going to, like not to change who I am. I knew that I wasn't going to go any further in the competition, but at least I could do what I felt comfortable doing me. And the response that I got just from that, and I had people coming up to me afterwards, even comedians saying, I would really love to be able to do what you do, but I don't have the guts to do it on stage, like to be able to say those things. And there was actually a guy who was sitting next to my dad, didn't know it was my dad, who said, oh, this guy is the best one here today. So those little bits of feedback that you get, that's where you're sort of on the right track, even though it wasn't for that event. And I probably could have changed it if I wanted to go further. But I didn't want to take that away from who I am on stage.
Yeah, look, you want it to be true to yourself, and you stuck by your guns, which is beautiful. It's this game of comedy is all about growth, right? And it's all about making sure you're doing things that are in line with your values. And the moment you start selling out, that's when you stop having fun anymore. And what's the point of doing it if you're not having fun anymore?
And that's so basically what we've touched on as well, a little bit about why, when you're sitting in an armchair and you're, 120, because we're going to start living longer these days, we're sitting there at 120. What are you going to look back on that will fulfill you in this career? Not necessarily in comedy, what you said, but you did touch on that you do want to make a difference to, a more positive and giving to society. What's the end game for you, do you find?
Well, I never wait until that period to be able to assess whether if I was to die as an old man, would I look back and have any regrets? So I always assess. So every couple of months, or sometimes even every day. Sometimes a year would pass and I'd look back, and assess. And I'd ask myself, have I lived in accordance with my values of what I wanted to do, and why I believe I'm here, why I believe I'm on this earth, and have I made the difference that I want to make? And my biggest yes moment was leaving my bank job to be able to do comedy full time, right?
Yeah.
Because I assessed the 29 years before comedy, and I've been more impactful in the world in the last bloody 5 years doing comedy than I have been in the last 29 years. I mean, I was a good son, I was a good brother and a good friend, right? And I was kind to people that I met along the way in my journeys, but I've never obviously impacted people or connected with people in the way that I do, or at the level that I do with my comedy. Where I get 265 people coming to one show, I'm making them laugh for 1 hour. They go away, they get to stay in touch with me via online. I do more stuff online to keep them engaged, right? And to me, like, obviously in 5 years of doing that, like, more people know of me now than people did 29 years ago. I've got people in Canada, I've got people Australia-wide, people in Ethiopia, people in the UK. We're like, oh, when you come to the UK, when you come to New Zealand. So I'm more involved in the world now within the 5 years than I have been for the last.
And connecting.
But I didn't know any better.
People. Yeah.
I didn't know. Yeah, connecting with people. I didn't know any better 29 years ago. But in the 5 years, I know, and I feel that I've wasted so much time. But it's not time wasted. It was just time taken to learn, so that I have the right mindset when I get here. And now that I am here, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I'm always looking for ways to do it at a bigger scale, so that when I am checking out and I am on my deathbed, I can go, yep, I came, I saw, I impacted, and I'm ready to go.
And I feel that too, like a lot of the times that I have a lot of talking in my head telling myself, are you sure you're right for this? And then you wake up in the morning and you're like, I've got to keep pushing this. That drive for some reason to keep pushing and doing this. But you definitely,
you know what they say. If you have a strong why, you can overcome the how or anything.
Yeah. And also you also performed at, was it Australia's Got Talent?
Yes, I was on Australia's Got Talent. Got to perform in front of Nicole Scherzinger. That was pretty cool. That
would have been amazing, and to have that audience.
Yeah, the audience, meh. Let's be honest. Australia's Got Talent audiences, right? And here's the thing. I was backstage and I had my set ready, and I could hear the noises, and it was like 1,300 people in that room, and at least 1,100 of them sounded like kids under the age of like 13 or something.
Yeah.
So straight away, I was like, "Oh no, I gotta get rid of this joke, that joke, and I'm gonna the joke that I have." I literally did that just before I went on stage, and the kids joked. They were like, "Yay!" And I was like, "This is not the best crowd." So I wouldn't say the best crowd, but it was an honor to perform in front of judges like Nicole Scherzinger, who I grew up watching as part of the Pussycat Dolls.
Yeah, and I do see you on TV. Like that's what. So like when I was thinking of questions to ask you, you know, and this question in particular, with what you're doing now with your Instagram Live and whatnot, for me, like I just feel like being on TV and having a show like this of your own would be something that would be amazing.
Yeah,
would that be something you're interested in?
I would love to host the show. I would love to, you know, to play that role, and I think I would be great at it. But when it does happen, I'm sure I'll be more than ready to step into that position. And everything that happens prior to anything great happening, there's little steps where we need to go through those steps to be able, you know, to equip ourselves with whatever learnings we need to, so that when we do get through that great step, we execute it well. No point skipping and rushing there and then dying in front of a large crowd, right? Or stuffing up a great opportunity. So this Instagram show, Match Made in Covert, is, I think, good training for when I do get to a position that I'm hosting.
Yeah, and what you just said before as well about making sure that you're ready, you know, for this, and a lot of wasted time. I feel that a lot as well, because as I said, I had a lot of jobs. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I look back and I go, if I had been able to put those hard yards in then doing comedy, where would I be now? But one thing I find with comedy is when you see young people performing, and there's a lot of young people on the scene at the moment in Melbourne that are fantastic, but there's that thing about being sort of, I believe, 35, and it might be because I'm 35 that I believe that, that you're more
worldly. I thought you were 21, to be honest.
Yeah, I do. I look young, but and that's why I keep the beard, actually, because when I shave, I look like a little kid. I think people respect me more with a beard, but that's what it's about, is being a little bit worldly and experiencing things in life. You know, like when you go to a comedy show and there's, you know, 18-year-old trying to tell you about life, you're like, you don't know life, man. You haven't been through this, that, and whatnot. You've just left high school. How bad have you had it? You know, so there's that thing about being our age now that people do listen to you. So it is, in a way, like we've experienced life, and now we're able to project that into what we're doing now. So I kind of feel like it's okay that we left it late in life to pursue this career.
Oh, 100%. Look, if I was to discover stand-up comedy as a career at a younger age, I definitely would not have had the same mindset that I've had now. So I definitely would not have taken it as seriously. I definitely would not have backed it up with the level of work ethic that I have, and the finances that I've poured into it. I definitely would not have the right mindset to be able to make the move that I've made now, should I have discovered it at an earlier stage. You know what I mean? So, and the fact that I was in a serious relationship, there's no way I could be in a serious relationship right now and be able to do as much as
I'm not in one either.
And if you do get in one, she needs to be, or he needs to be, I don't know, Nick, what your cup of tea is.
Yeah, anything really.
No, anything as long as he's breathing.
That's not a necessity either. But
it takes a special person to be with a comedian. So.
It does, and you know, my wife doesn't understand it a lot of times, and you know, especially before
your wife deserves an applause break, mate. All right.
Before I get on stage, or you know, especially like a podcast like this, I'm going over a lot of the things in my head. Like, it's not, you know, a lot of people don't see the behind the scenes stuff. And that's where something like a podcast is great, because we can discuss it. But I'm a horrible person before these events, because I don't want to talk about my son on his bike or something like that. I'm going over things in my head, and I want to be left alone, and I get very agitated.
No, and that's fair. That's fair, because when you're up on that stage, it's not you and your wife and your kids up there. It's just you. So you're representing everyone, right? So you got to make sure you execute that part, and you have to do what you have to do off stage so that you're prepared. And if you're not prepared and you keep telling people you are, then it will be reflected on stage, whatever you've been doing in private.
That's right. Yeah, 100%. And I've talked about times about when, I've had massive arguments with my wife, and then I make sure that I go out and perform still, because you're always going to be faced with these challenges, of that. And I thought of a joke on the way there. I'm angry at her and I'm fuming. And so I got there and I opened with, a lot of people ask me about comedy, why you'd want to get into comedy and what it is. And I said, it's about the fame. And they said, really, the money, how can you handle all these people knowing you in the street? I said, it's not about that. I said, what it's about is that one day I want my wife to be sitting there with her family and friends and look up at the TV and say, I used to be married to that guy. So you got to be able to use what's going on in your life as and project it in a positive way. But you do need good people
100%.
around to support you.
100%. And like I said, it takes a special person to be with a comedian, because here you have your wife who's loving you and, being supportive and standing by your side while you do all these gigs and, alone time doing what you love doing. And then how do we reward them? We go on stage and we badmouth them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
because there's so much things that I can write jokes about her as well.
Yeah. Do you know how many? I was seeing this girl, and we had fights here and there, and then I wrote jokes about how stupid I thought the fights were, and her point of view made no sense. And I obviously did it in a humorous way, and I share it on stage, and people love it, right? But it doesn't make her look like, Well, she's not. She wanted to come to the show, and I'm like, no, you can't come to the show because I want to do that joke, but I don't want to do it funny. Because I don't want to deal with it when I get home. So, that's why it takes a special person. Because if your wife comes to the show and she hears the joke, she needs to be able to go, no, that's my man. He's just joking.
That's what he does. He's joking. Yeah, and I spoke about this in one of my previous podcasts with a good friend of mine, Matthias Campino, and he's basically, dying to get into the comedy world and whatnot. We've sort of grown up together and pushed in that direction. And we've had conversations before where he's like, oh, are you sure you want to put that in or whatnot? And I was discussing with him that when you're doing comedy, sometimes you've got to just be okay with, like what you're saying, you're going to be saying things about friends, family, and whatnot. And sometimes there's going to be a reaction, but they need to know that that's like you're creating a joke. That's not necessarily your views or what you're doing. That's just what you're putting out there. And some people struggle with that.
In my family, because my jokes are mainly about people in my family. And so my mom will tell me something funny that happened to her at work that's embarrassing, and we'll both laugh, and then she'll look at me and go, oh, God, please don't share that on stage. Like genuine fear in her face. Like, we'll just laugh, ha, 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 and then she'll just stop and be like, please don't share that on stage, And it just ruins the moment that we're both enjoying. So there is that fear. And I think my brother cried once and said, stop making fun of me on stage.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's a joke. I love you. Deep down, I love you. And he was like, no, it's not funny. You're making fun of me. And I was like, are you crying?
And he was crying.
Yeah. So he was crying.
They can't have their comeback while you're on stage either, can they? So it's not like they can say, well, that didn't happen. That wasn't it.
Yeah. Even if they did, it's like your job is to make the crowd laugh that you'd go, yes, it did.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You don't want to say anything to a comedian either, because you can't beat us with that, by yelling out to us and everything like that. We're going to have comebacks, and you've got to be prepared for that.
It's our job to be the funny one.
It's our jobs to be the funny one. So, so where else can people find you as well? So, as I said, they can find you on Instagram Live. It's Monday to Thursday. Is that correct? Or sorry, Sunday to Thursday?
Sunday to Thursday, every night, 8 p.m. Melbourne time on Joe White _official. 8 p.m. Match made in covert, that's the name of it.
You've also got a YouTube channel as well?
I do have a YouTube channel as well. So the best way to navigate to my channels is to just go to my website, which is joewhitecomedian.com. And then there's hyperlinks for them to click with the YouTube symbol or Instagram, and it will take you straight to my socials.
Fantastic. Mate, as I said, you've been a very inspirational person in my career in comedy and helped me with a lot of things. So I really wanted to get you on here as one of the first comedians on the podcast to discuss a little bit about that. And I really appreciate your time in that, now that you can be busy. Before would have been better when you were in Melbourne doing nothing, and you've gone to Perth, and I've said, now that you can do things, I want you to take time out of your day and spend it with me. So I appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure talking to you, Nick, and the fact that you've chosen, all these kind words to say to me, that means a lot. And if I've impacted you in any ways, big or small, then I've done what I believe my purpose is in this world, which is to be impactful in a positive way. So as cliche as that sounds, that is what I'm all about. Usually people would get me on a podcast and they'll be like, oh, this is going to be a funny podcast. But then they go, this was too deep. I didn't think it was going to be like that. But that's how I am, man. If you want funny, come, if you want funny, we can be funny. But if you're like, come be you, then I want to be me, which is, there's two sides to me. There is a part where I want to have conversation about the meaning of life, and then I want to do fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I know, talking to you in the past, I didn't need to say that, but what I do generally tell people is, you don't have to come on here and be funny. This is a conversation, and there will be funny points of the conversation. But I feel if you try, especially in a podcast, to be funny, that you could see through it. It's not genuine. I really appreciate just having a good discussion. And sometimes that makes the jokes when you're on stage funnier, when you understand what that person's gone through. Like, especially there's been pivotal moments in listening to you talk on your Instagram Live and stories that you've put up online about some trauma that you've been through in life. It really makes those jokes funnier. And that's the best thing about doing a podcast like this.
Because it comes from a place of honesty, right? When we share a bit of ourselves, especially the challenging moments in our life they've all shaped who we are. So people really get to know the person that they're looking at and listening to when they understand where they've come from, what they've been through. So, and being able to share that, you're really, putting yourself out there and being naked in front of people. So it comes at a risk, but it also comes at a gain, which is changing people's lives for the better.
And that's what I talk about with that vulnerability, is putting yourself out there and your feelings with that. But the end game is to be positive. So you're going to have these trolls, like what you said. I had a person comment on one of my videos where I was discussing my 6 most influential comedians, and she wrote, "Why would you listen to this guy? Just go watch Bill Burr." And I'm like, that's what I'm trying to get you people to do. That's what I'm doing. And you do sort of look at that and you go, wow, like, are you listening to any of this? I'm trying to put a positive thing out there, and someone's thrown a negative haymaker, as you said before, in it. And all you want to do is create a positive vibe. So sometimes that does affect us when we're trying to create this positive. Why are you doing this?
Well, just because you want to create a positive doesn't mean that you're not going to be encountered by negatives. Do you know what I mean? Negative people out there. And I think in any line of work where it requires the public to view and give feedback, or view and engage, or just anything that requires the public's engagement, the more people you reach, the more likely you're going to reach trolls as well. So it's very important to understand that. It's very important to be okay with it. And then just work on how to navigate it and make sure your mental health is you're on top of it, because those trolls can really give you anxiety. They can really cause stress, and that would lead to problems in your own personal life with your family and friends. So it's very important that you put the phone down sometimes, or you don't even look at it before bed. It doesn't mess with your sleep. Maybe meditate. If you're in the public eye, you need to make sure you do some sort of mind sense activities where you take care of your mind. That's how I deal with trolls and all that.
And I don't look at my phone before, if I'm driving to do a set, I will not look at my phone beforehand. And it's something that when I did my questions and answer episode, someone said, do I have a routine? And the reason is that if you get something negative or something before you get up on stage, that affects you. So I make sure that I leave the house in a good mindset and I just put the phone away.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you try to do your best, the best you can to manage the situation. But sometimes where you have a bad encounter with someone or something before your performance, you never know. You could be a much more angry comic on stage, and then people will go, "Wow, I really liked your set," and you go, "Oh, I was just really angry. You know what? Maybe that's my shtick."
Get in a fight before you leave.
Baby, I'm going to a show. Well, I hate you. I hate you too. All right, good to go. You know, so you never know. You never know. You just have to navigate to the best of your ability.
Correct. Yeah.
No
but look, once again, thanks a lot for coming on here. I really appreciate it. And make sure that you get down and subscribe to Joe White _official, was it?
Yeah, Joe White _official on Instagram.
On Instagram, and then that can navigate you to all the other channels.
Yeah, so, for sure, guys.
Yeah. As I said, I just really appreciate your time taking out in today, Father's Day and whatnot, and being here for Trapani's Choice. Thanks, mate. I'm going to go off and spend a little bit of time with my son.
You need kids, bro. We can just hang out on this podcast. No.
I'm more than happy to. That's why I did it. This is for me.
Yeah. See, this podcast is fun because while you're hanging out with me, talking to me, you can drink. You can't do that with your kid.
No, I do. Can I tell you a little story? I used to do, especially because my wife went back to work. So I was a stay-at-home dad for a long, long time. Now he's in childcare and whatnot. So you could imagine like when he's having his naps and I'm walking around with a pram, what I would do is I'd put gin and tonic in a coffee cup, takeaway coffee cup. And I'd walk around the park drinking gin and tonic. And people would be, they'd look at me and they'd smile and they'd go, "Oh, wow, look at this amazing guy having a coffee, putting his son to sleep." And I was drunk as fuck at 3:30 in the afternoon.
You're like, "This is the best coffee ever."
I'm stumbling down the park.
And you're just looking at your son. "Why don't you get up and push me on the tram?"
Yeah. He's got gin and tonic in his bottle.
Moving, we've got him moving. Yeah. Careful.
Oh, jeez. But no, look, thanks, mate. I really appreciate it. It's been a very good chat, and being able to get to those interesting topics, which is what I really enjoy. As I said, it doesn't necessarily have to be funny, but talking about this is what I really enjoy. So thanks, mate, for opening up to everyone on Trapani's Choice.
No worries, man. No worries.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
I will. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Bye.